Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. It's been a hot minute since I dug into the box of old, obscure North American 7-inch singles. So this afternoon I've got a little time. I want to pull out three different singles and give them their 15 minutes of fame. As usual, play a clip, talk about them a little bit, let you check out some things that, yeah, don't get discussed very often in heavy metal circles these days. Our first entry hails from Canada. It's a band called Fatal Mistake. Um, Not a lot of information about this band out there. A couple of sites didn't have a date for this record. Discogs listed as 1988. So we'll go with 1988 for this one. The tracks featured are called Icebreaker and The Hunter. And let's just go ahead and see what it sounds like. Here is part of The Hunter by Fatal Mistake.
I've been coming round. I've been looking for you, for your weaknesses and the things you do. But I'm the person, so you better watch out. I'm gonna shock your mind. I'm gonna make you shout. I'm gonna hypnotize you. You're gonna fall apart, 'cause you're a sharp reminder of a primitive love. The night's long.
All right, so you're getting the idea. Yeah, kind of a slow, grindy number on the Hunter there. It does pick up the pace a little bit later in the song. It's not really in a glam metal direction at all. It feels a little too rough and raw for that. But yeah, maybe somewhere, on the outskirts of an AC/DC kind of sound. So yeah, not, hardcore thrash metal or proto-death or anything like that either. Let's also check out a clip from the flip side called Icebreaker.
Well, hold on, ma, I was there. She was here. Mine had everything to fear. Oh, give me a line. I need a price breaker. I gotta take charge. I need a price breaker. She gives me charge. I'm the boss, acting wild, freaking out with this crazy child. Silent close.
So yeah, once again, good energy, kind of a good raw guitar tone to it. But it's definitely coming, from more of a, hard rock, almost even maybe a little bit of a boogie angle to it. Cool single, like it quite a bit. Doesn't show up all that often, but it's also not a particularly high dollar record either. I'd expect if you're looking for copies of it, you'd probably find something, in the $50 range would be adequate to get yourself a copy if you had to have it. Let's look over here on Discogs for just a second and see if there's anything listed, just out of curiosity. Fatal Mistake, Icebreaker, and let's see what we see. So this one, yeah, there's a few copies. Looks like 4 copies are listed. All of them are from Canadian sellers. No surprise there. And yeah, they kind of start around like the $45 mark. See, it looks like Discogs does have a CD album listed from 1992 by the band also. That one I don't know anything about. If the date on the single's correct, and again, in one place here on Discogs it says unknown. In another place, I'm seeing a date of around 88 for it, but I thought Discogs had it as 88 too, but they don't either. So date may be off by a little bit there. But it seems like they're active late 80s, early 90s with the date on the CD album. Kind of a cool single, different style, not pure headbanging fare, but it wouldn't be that hard to bang your head to it either if you really wanted to. So that is Fatal Mistake. All right, second single. is a very plain looking one. Never came with a picture sleeve. The band is called Nothing Nice. Uh, just kind of a very plain, straightforward black label on something called Happy Records. Okay. Songs here we have One More Night and Get What You Want. This is one, again, I've seen a date of 1988 for this one. Other places weren't sure about the date. Not a lot of info about it. But let's see what this one sounds like. This one's also going to be a little bit outside the heavy metal box as a heads up. We'll start with a clip of One More Night.
Like a cat on the prowl, yeah, waiting for your prey. You're the wild child who's on the run, can't find a better way, no way. Ooh, you wear your sexy silk satin night in your red lipstick. Ooh, I hear your business, trading money for kicks. One more night, yeah, that's all I'm asking from you. To give me one more night, I'd love to spend it with you.
All right, so here we've got a band operating kind of at the heavier end of the sleaze spectrum. Not full out, hair glam metal like a Poison or Faster Pussycat or Warrant. But yeah, it definitely has, a little bit of that kind of sleazy vibe to the vocals. Singer's got kind of a good sneer going on there. And yeah, the music, it's not out and out heavy metal, but it's got a certain heaviness to it at the same time. Let's check out the flip side on this one. Get What You Want and see what they're doing on that track. We are going to skip this little cowboy opening. It only lasts about 30 seconds, but yeah, I don't need that twangy bit there.
Easy. Yes, sir. Ooh, sex sound, you're back in the place. It's like a roll down on the knees. Take what you want, your most passionate dream. I give it to you sleazy, if you know what I mean. So you can get what you want, but I've got what you need. I got what you need. You can get what you want to, baby, but I've got what you need. Yes, I do. Can you mother, you're under the covers. They said the nation, you're a worldwide lover.
All right, so yeah, kind of operating in the same vein as the A side. It's obviously drawing, some probably from, California's LA sleaze sound. If the dates of 88 are correct, then these guys are most likely pretty familiar with LA Guns and Guns N' Roses and such. At the same time, it's got, a certain toughness to it. There's a nice kind of little raw edge to the guitar tone on those tracks. It gives it some weight. So it falls in that kind of, weird in between vein. Not probably heavy enough for, the bona fide thrashers, but probably way too heavy and scary for somebody who's only listening to, Bon Jovi or Winger and stuff like that. There are a few bands that fall in this niche I'm familiar with. Rod Squad, out of Texas, I believe, have a single that's very, very comparable in style to this. DT Rocks also, kind of doing the same thing, where kind of a toughened up sound. There was also a band called Asphalt Ballet. They leaned a little bit more into like, a southern rock blues direction, but with that kind of same tougher glam sleaze mixture thrown in. Haven't played Asphalt Ballet in forever, but I liked their first album when I was a teenager. The Nothing Nice single, there's really not much else to say about it. Not many copies of it have turned up to my knowledge. Discogs has a few sales records, usually around like the $100 mark. My copy is pretty worn, doesn't have the best sound to it, but it's not bad either. I got it for a fair price years and years and years ago. A couple of copies of this have sold for extremely high prices. I don't know if those auctions or sales are still archived on some site like PopSpsych. If you look them up and you see like multi-hundred-dollar price tags for this one, definitely take that with a grain of salt. The sales were legit. I know I paid attention to the sales. Pretty sure I know who bought that copy if our memory serves and who sold it. But I don't think that would be a regular, reasonable going price. I point that out because sometimes people see that one high price for an item and they start thinking that's what it's worth. These kind of singles vary wildly from, one copy to the next. So yeah, you could have a copy of something like this bring $500 or higher. But if you look around more, you'll start to see that a few other copies have actually gone for much less. That's going to be a more realistic price than thinking like, oh, well, this one copy back in, 2012 or something sold for a crazy amount. I guess I can get the same amount for my copy. Nah, you probably can't. If I were looking to sell my copy, I would not expect any kind of high price. And in this condition, I wouldn't even expect what you typically see on Discogs. But it's not for sale because even though it's not the heaviest record on the planet, I can absolutely dig it. All right, let's move on to our third and last single for today. This one is from a band called Hazardous Waste. Now, I want to say they were from Massachusetts, but I might be wrong about that one. Anyway, the single looks like this. Let's see what it sounds like. The A side is called Half-Life.
There is something that looks down on you, and all it wants is your life. It has the power to conquer and destroy anything within its sight. It's half-life. You half-life.
All right, so yeah, getting something more metallic than the first two entries tonight. Slow, pacey kind of song, but a real heaviness to it, just a little bit of like a doomy aura. Not doom metal, but has that same kind of atmosphere. It's an atmosphere I associate with a lot of bands from the Metal Massacre Volume 4 compilation. Yeah, a lot of bands that came out of the Chicago area scene, like War Cry, had that same kind of vibe to them. War Cry, Enforcer, Battalion, Trouble, of course. The list goes on and on. So yeah, cool song, pretty heavy. The flip side picks up the pace a little bit with a track called Danger Zone. And let's check out a snippet from that track too.
When you're last in the valley in your city, well, there's a place that you can go. But you remember when you get there, there's no way out. But there's a fire down below. Fire down below. The danger zone, the danger zone, the danger zone. How would you feel if the walking from the top of you? Would this maybe take a while? There's a pack and you feel the agony. Then you take the same more. No. The danger zone, the danger zone, the danger zone. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, kind of a good fast-paced burner there with a Danger Zone on the flip side. So yeah, one side slow and heavy, other side faster and a bit ripping. Now you might be wondering, this picture sleeve looks a bit suspect. Definitely does not look like something from the period. The single came out in 1986. It was always, just sort of, one of those like, $50-ish dollar kind of deals for a long time. Not the rarest or most expensive one, but a good sounding one for sure. In 2009, this company that was associated with it, Welfare Records, found about 200 or 300 copies. I think it was 300. 300 copies of the single that had just never sold. I guess they'd been put in the back of a warehouse or storage or something, but they were unearthed in 2009. And so Welfare Records made these picture sleeves in 2009 to put the old leftover 1986 singles into. So they didn't repress the vinyl. All the copies of the vinyl are from 1986, but all the copies of this goofy picture sleeve are from 2009. So you'll see some copies, people that had it before 2009 won't have a sleeve with their copy, and people that got it 2009 or after probably will have a picture. With 300 copies coming onto the market, that more than met demand. These days, you can find copies of it on Discogs for probably like, $15 or so, which is a really fair price because it's a very good record. Makes a couple of good points. First off, the price doesn't tell you how good a record is. Again, you'll see the Nothing Nice single. If you dig around enough in old auctions, you might see that one going for way north of $500. But I think for a lot of people, it's probably a little bit too much on the sleaze side of things to really appeal to them. On the other hand, Hazardous Waste, you can buy multiple copies on Discogs right now for around $15, and you get two really solid heavy metal tunes. Also points out that prices on these things can change over time, and there is always a chance for some of these singles for a quantity to come out of the woodwork. Doesn't happen often, and it's not going to happen for every single record either. But yeah, Hazardous Waste, all of a sudden you've got several hundred copies. There are probably not 300 people around the world who were pining for a copy of the Hazardous Waste single. So you have that much come onto the market, it's going to more than meet demand for a pretty long time into the future. And we've seen this happen with, some other singles too. There's a Canadian band called, I think it's Cry. One of their singles had the same kind of thing happen where members had a bunch in storage. We saw it happen with the Solar Eagle 12-inch EP, where some copies came, into the marketplace back in the mid 2010s, brought the price of that record down by several $100s. So yeah, these old records are really cool. There's a lot of good music on several of them. That's why I try to play them on here and give folks a chance to hear them. There aren't exactly huge Facebook pages and, Discords dedicated to Hazardous Waste or Fatal Mistake, but the music's pretty solid. But yeah, it can seem like hard to find these things and expensive to get them. It's not always the case, and if a few copies do turn up here or there, the price can come down pretty fast. Anyway, that is going to do it for this episode. So we had the kind of, grinding, hard rocking sounds of Fatal Mistake from Canada, circa 1988, maybe a little closer to 1990. We had Nothing Nice, which I swear, if I had to guess, I'd say Nothing Nice maybe came out of Texas, but I could have been a California band. I'm going to guess Texas. But yeah, with, kind of a nice hard-edged sleaze sound. And then Hazardous Waste, doing it sort of doomy and slow on one side and tearing it up a little bit on the flip side. That's what I've got. So now let's talk metal in the comments down below. Do these styles appeal to you? Is Nothing Nice a little bit, too much Sunset Strip going on? Or does it kind of balance things just right? What do you think of the others as well? Other singles or bands in these styles that you're fond of? Maybe I haven't. Maybe I'll feature it someday in a future video. But that's going to have to do it for now. So until next time, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your head.